Ba, ba, ba. Welcome, everybody. I know you guys missed me last week. I'm sorry I wasn't here. Got a lot going on in this head of mine. But welcome to the Eden Army podcast. I am your host tonight, Pete Robertucci. It's August 13th, 3 days after my birthday, 4 days after my 24th anniversary. So things are good. My wonderful life has stayed with me for 24 years, so I can't complain about that. She has an awful lot to complain about, but I certainly couldn't complain about that. But this is episode 27, season 2. Woo! Yeah, we're getting old. Of the podcast, and we're coming to you live on YouTube, Facebook, X, Kick.com, and wherever else hasn't kicked us off yet. Guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Since we were last on, I'd like to thank Mama T, K-Love, Mama Gnome, Tony D, Agnes, Opie, and Dan for your resubscriptions. It keeps the lights on and keeps me buying cool gadgets and gear for the podcast. So that's kind of cool. There's a mess of merry men and women over on kick.com. So if you're watching on another platform, go to kick.com/Eden Army, because that's where all the cool kids are hanging out. Miss Julie's over there, Meta Guy, Terry, who else? Larry Dial. Larry, where have you been? I was just asking about you. Larry Dial is in the house. Mama Teresa, Man Crush Mondays over there. Anyway, you know, the mess of the tribe is hanging out over there. So look, guys, I'm going to get on my soapbox. I had this whole thing lined up. I had a whole agenda put out there, and at H- hour, I ended up friggin' scrapping it and just going to a couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to get on my soapbox and I'm going to vent. You guys don't have to have an opinion on this. It's only my opinion, and it has no reflection on our sponsors or any other guests or anything else on the podcast tonight. This is Pete's opinion on some stuff. If you like it, if you agree, then go ahead and chat about it. If you don't agree, just keep your pie hole shut. That's okay too. But look, guys, Massachusetts crossed the line that I believe should discuss every decent person in this country. Governor Haley signed a law that removes the state's previous specific medical restrictions on abortion after 24 weeks. The old law required circumstances such as protecting the mother's life. Okay, you can have an abortion then, or her health, or a grave fetal diagnosis of some sort. Definitely go ahead and have an abortion. Since she signed this law and order this law into action, those requirements are gone. The new language says an abortion after 24 weeks may be performed based on a physician's professional judgment, and the law says that medical review process cannot override the decision of the physician or the patient. There's no separate gestational cutoff written into the new statute. So let's just think about what that means. This can be done electively now. This can be done electively, not if the mother's life is in danger, not if the baby's life is in danger. Ultimately, the baby's life is in danger because of this law, but okay. But we're not talking about 6 weeks. We're not talking about a pregnancy where someone didn't know they were pregnant. We're talking about a late-term pregnancy when the child still may be viable outside the womb. You know, the sane news outlets out there are accurately describing this as allowing abortions up to birth. Allowing abortions up until the time that baby takes its first breath. A mother can do this without a father's permission, without a doctor's permission, up until that time, electively. Okay, I don't want to do it. Just go ahead and just dismiss that child. Look, you can call it reproductive health. You can call it choice. Call it whatever politically sanitized term makes it more palatable to you. Whatever you want to call it. I call abortion what I believe it is: the intentional killing of an unborn human being. And late-term abortion is even more indefensible. At some point, we have to stop pretending that traveling a few inches through the birth canal magically transforms something disposable into a human life, a life that's worthy of protection. If that baby's viable, has a heartbeat, has developed organs, can feel the environment around it, and could potentially survive outside the mother's body, then killing that kid's not compassion, it's evil. And the fact that politicians stood around smiling and applauding while signing away all the protections for this child, they care about the kids. They care about the kids, right? It's all about the kids. Every time you hear a school shooting, it's about the kids. Yet they stood around smiling and applauding when they're allowing, by law, an elective abortion of a child 2 seconds before that child takes its first breath. That's hypocrisy. That should bother every one of us, guys. Every one of us. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, independent, religious. I could care less. There has to be a point where the human life matters. Massachusetts just moved that line frighteningly close to that child actually taking its first breath.
Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey just signed a law which, in essence, allows for the deletion of babies to the point of birth. Now, previously, the state had a 24-week gestational limit on ending pregnancies. That is no more. Here is the gleeful signing of this bill. Take a look.
Thank you.
This bill is called the Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act, and the governor also went on to tweet this. In Massachusetts, women and their families shouldn't have to cross state lines for abortion care doctors can provide in our state. Today, I signed a law so they won't have to. Real freedom means healthcare decisions belong to women and their doctors, not their government. So that's the news. This is not my opinion. This is evil. Deeply, deeply, profoundly evil. As a father of 3 young children, this sickens my heart.
The Eden Army podcast is proud to be sponsored by Preparedness Health Systems, your one-stop shop for research-grade peptides and GLPs. Preparedness is not just about food, water, and defense. It's about understanding health, longevity, and resilience in a tough world. Preparedness Health Systems provides research-grade products for those serious about education, preparedness, and staying ahead of the curve. Email Preparedness Health Systems at preparednesshealth@yahoo.com. Proud sponsor of the Eden Army podcast. Research used solely, not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. There you go, guys. Real quick before we introduce Russ and Tony. Guys, Eli Lilly filed 6 lawsuits against businesses selling black market obesity drugs, the GLP-1s that we're talking about here, specifically those that are selling Robertucci and the manufacturers that are making that stuff. So if that's your gig and you're into prepping that stuff, now might be the time to do that. What do you say, guys? What's new and exciting? Tony, you're back. I see you're doing that van life again.
Yeah.
Russ is RV lifing it. What's going on, Russ? We'll start off with you first.
Oh man, it's been a wild 5 weeks. Tom and Kathy and Vicky left to head home today. Hadn't seen him in chat yet, so I don't know if he's still driving or not. He said he's going to drive till he is tired, and he's going to pull over, grab a couple hours, and then get back on the road.
That sounds about right.
Miss Vicky became a grandmother again, so she is anxious to get home to be able to go see that new grandbaby.
Outstanding. Tony, we were off last week, brother, and you were doing your gig the week before that. What's new and exciting in your life?
Well, school's getting ready to start back for the kids, and rent's expensive, so here I am in the van working.
I hear you, but at least you get to be close to the house.
Yeah,
make a little money. Yeah,
sure.
And get to see the family, because ultimately, right, it's all about family.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, guys, I don't know if you want to chime in about this topic. I'm heated about this. I've always been heated about this type of thing. I have my personal opinions on that, but this this bill and the gleefulness that I saw in these ladies' eyes, it sickened me. It was absolutely disgusting. And look, again, that's my opinion, but I don't quite get it. This is an elective process that they're allowing now, not something that's going to save their life. And every time I hear a story like this, I flash back to when Melissa was having birthing issues with baby girl. And I can remember them wheeling her out in an emergency situation. And all she said was, I don't care what happens to me, save my baby. Right? I mean, that's what most people you would think would do. But to see these young ladies sitting behind the governor there, smiling, laughing, cheering for the ability to kill a kid 30 seconds before it's born is vile to me. So I don't know. You guys can chime in if you want, but that's up to you.
Go ahead, Tony. I'm gathering my thoughts here for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit it on the head. I mean, I would say why stop at birth? If it's an inconvenience to your lifestyle now, why not at teenagers too? If they're not living up to your standard, they're getting in the way of your life. Why put any time limit on it at all?
Right. I mean, ultimately, that's what happens. Baby girl, you hear that? Keep messing around in there, and
yeah. It's sickening, and it's just, again, I use it all the time. No accountability. And I'm talking outside of the medical stuff. I get it. Like, that's a different conversation. But given free reign for just a blanket decision, I think that's pretty sickening. And the gleefulness that comes along with it. And I don't,
is it, Tony, is it a moral compass issue? Have we lost our way? I mean,
I do. I think it's become very selfish if you think about it, because they're only thinking of themselves. This decision has absolutely nothing to do with the child, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
I
agree.
So,
what do you got, Tony?
So,
Russ?
Bullshite put in the comment, it's double homicide if you kill a pregnant woman. And that's what I was looking up. In Massachusetts, there is a legal precedence for that. Massachusetts Supreme Court has ruled that a viable fetus is considered a human being under the state's common law of homicide.
Well, I don't understand then. If the Supreme Court of Massachusetts said that, then how could they now say that?
They have affirmed that inflicting prenatal injuries or committing a violent act against a pregnant woman in her late stages of pregnancy that results in the death of a viable fetus constitutes murder.
Well, the good thing is as super gay as Massachusetts is there's probably not going to be a lot of kids being birthed anyway. So
yeah, but that just
that's super political. Sorry.
The stuff that they're doing is like wiping before you take a shit. It don't make no sense.
Right.
If a guy goes up there in Massachusetts now after a law's been signed into law, that's a defense for him from getting 2 life sentences.
Right.
I mean, at least in my warped brain of the law.
Yeah.
Well, and again, like every other abortion type state out there, the father has no say in the matter at all. It's all about the woman's health. Look, this what they're passing here is not about woman's health. This is an elective thing. This is no different than deciding you're going to go in and get a boob job. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't mean to make light of it, but it's elective.
Yeah, and
it's birth control. It's literally most people are using this as birth control.
Yeah. When Roe versus Wade got overturned, they pushed it back on the states. I believe in states' rights. I mean, you guys know that. Yeah. But how long is it going to be before some doctor that's got no scruples, is just in it for the money, starts offering it to the highest bidder to just take care of it willy-nilly just for the money? There is no oversight.
We already have an organization that does that, Russ. It's called Planned Parenthood.
I agree.
Responsible for a genocide of an entire race of people within the last 50 years. Right. But we want to talk about Black Lives Matter. Look at the percentage of minorities that have been aborted the last 50 years.
I think it's 70% of abortions are minorities, and they only make up something like 20% of the births.
Yep. So I don't want to hear about, guys. I don't want to hear about the Gaza genocide. I don't want to hear about it. It's happening right here in our country, and we're not doing dick about it. All right. And if you're a Black Lives Matter person, then bite me, because you're not standing up for 70% of these kids that could be born. And by the way, you out reproduce the Caucasians in America. So you want real change in America? Allow your kids to be born and raise them like good Americans, and you'll take over this freaking country before the Muslims do, by the way.
Well, that's a whole nother thing going on in Massachusetts.
The Democrats don't want that though. They want they want them to be kept down.
It's sorry, man.
No, you're good.
They already had stipulations in there for medical reasons, you know what I mean? And the dangers that come along with childbirth and stuff like that. So you have to ask yourself, why the change? Like it can't be for any other reason than get rid of children, and to give you and give you the opportunity to get rid of your kid again because it doesn't fit your lifestyle or what you had planned in life. You know what I mean?
That's the whole, and if you look deep into it, if you want to get real, if you want to put that tinfoil hat on real tight, you can look at the Bill Gates of the world, right? And say, okay, now population control, sure, I'll give $1 billion to Planned Parenthood. Yeah. Hell, they take care of more people than everybody else.
I think they're trying to control certain populations. Like I said, if you look at who's getting aborted, by far and large, and it's not even close. And then those same people represent the same people that make up the majority of the abortions, and now they've made it even easier for them.
You're 100% correct, and you can look back through history and see the people who started Planned Parenthood and their actual ties with the Democratic Party, and not only that, the racist arm of the Democratic Party. And there are quotes out there that basically say what you're saying right now, Tony. So,
if I could just kill everybody that inconvenienced my lifestyle, I could also help with population control.
I could too, and I'd pretty much there'd be nobody around me. I'd had to have this whole county by myself. It'd be amazing.
me and you wouldn't have made it through the first show we sat together.
That's true. So, misery loves company.
So, Pete, I'm going to put Salty Heifer's comment up here on the screen.
Okay.
What she got to say. I thought this was the whole reason we have safe surrender laws. But, okay, you don't want to be a mother, but that baby or whatever term you want to use didn't choose to be created. Safe surrender, no questions asked.
Hands clean,
so to speak. There are so many people who want to be parents and can't. Yet people that can, let's just end the pregnancy, especially that late into pregnancy. And, I was adopted, and we adopted our youngest son. People want kids, and if they can't have them, that's what they need to be.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, look, at some point you have to be a responsible adult, even if you didn't mean to have a pregnancy. You still have to be a man and a woman and kind of, be an adult. But it's too convenient, right? We're in a society where convenience matters above everything else.
Yeah.
So, Patrick 7, eugenics, you're right, brother. Guy agrees with you, Salty. Let's see right here. Medicaid had free birth control program that almost and it's still there. Now, although the Catholic Church is fighting a lot of that, Julie. But let's see what else we got.
Everything they implement, though, it alleviates anybody from being accountable or responsible for anything they do. All these programs, to include this new law that's been passed.
Yep, I just don't. The only I can
go do what you want. We'll figure out afterward.
Exactly, and I can only attribute this to evil, guys. I can't. There's nothing else because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't compute in my head. This can only be just the evilness of what is the far left. I'll say far left. The Democrats right now. But anyway, I'm off my soapbox there, guys. That's all I got. This next topic, I switched gears. It's not a sexy topic, guys. It's not about tactics. It's not about firearms or gear, but it may be in my opinion, one of the most important overlooked parts of preparedness, and that's being realistic about your abilities, right? Being realistic about your age now. being realistic about where you fit in within your group or your tribe. Can you actually carry the gear that you packed, or are we just hoarding gear because it's the cool thing to do? And if you do hoard the stuff up and plan on walking 8 miles, when's the last time you did it? When's the last time you did it? Can you function without your medication that you depend on? Okay. If not, are you making the plan to do that? What else? And if you're part of a preparedness group, what value do you bring? I'm of the mindset that everybody has the potential to bring value to a group, whether it be some little old gal that knows how to pressure can, right? You bring her a deer and she pressure cans the whole damn thing and you got food, or someone that can sew, or a dentist who might not have the tactical virtue, but he's able to pull a tooth if you need to, right? These are all things that are important to me that are overlooked. Look, you don't have to be 25, run a 6-minute mile, be experienced in medical skills, communication, logistics, security, or leadership. All those things matter. Just pick one of them. Just pick one of them. Look, but you need to know your strengths, understand your limitations, and build your preparedness plan around your limitations. Look, we all have them. I just turned 53. I can't run a 6-minute mile anymore. But the people I surround myself with, though I outrun them constantly, it's no big deal, right? Jason's trying, little Jason's trying, but he's starting to understand now. If you try to keep up with the bucks, you're going to start pulling hamstrings and calves and stuff like that. So look, know your limitations. I certainly know mine. I'm not a people person. I'm pretty blunt when it comes to now. Look, I can slow roll the group together. I can slow roll together and keep them tight. But at the end of the day, once I say that's it, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not the guy that's gonna placate everybody. My wife says I don't see anything in gray. It's all black and white to me. She's right. I suspect. So what I've done, guys, is there was someone sent me, and I've got it rolling in the every 5 minutes in the chat here. It's a video, 24-minute video by Reliable Preppers. Now I've cut that up, and we're going to discuss each particular aspect of the 7 clips, how it applies to you, and some questions. And let's be realistic with ourselves and see where we can, increase our worth to our group, to our family, right? See how can we increase our worth to our family. It's not about running and gunning all the time, guys. It's not about being able to carry a 50-pound pack 12 miles. If you can't do it, then your plan shouldn't be that I'm going to bug out 12 miles with the kitchen sink. Just make a different plan. It's no big deal. But once you have that plan, start working it, start practicing it. If you can only walk 3 miles with a 30-pound pack, guess what? Walk 3 miles with a 30-pound pack. There's really no excuses, especially for something like that. But guys, I'm going to run. I don't mean to, again, I'm getting on my soapbox here, but I'm going to run this first little clip and then we'll talk about it.
The first thing that changes after 40 is how honestly you need to judge your own physical capability. Maybe you used to work construction all day, hunt steep country, lift heavy, hike for miles, play sports, or stay awake half the night and still function the next morning. Maybe you can still do a lot of that. Plenty of men in their 50s and 60s are in better shape than people half their age, and nobody is saying otherwise. The real issue is recovery, accumulated wear, and what happens when a small injury lands at exactly the wrong time. At 25, you might tweak your back and be mostly fine 2 days later. At 45 or 55, that same mistake can take you completely out of commission.
Yeah, you got that right. And I've been a part of that. We had an FTX before I left Florida. I bent over to put my shoe on and tweaked my back. That's it. It's all it took. And I was out of commission. So these are things that we need to account for within our group and understand that as we're bringing people into our group. Look, everybody wants, I'm going to keep harping on this. Everybody wants to run and gun. That's the cool tactical guy thing. But unfortunately, everybody's running and gunning. Nobody's in there cooking pressure canning meat or gardening. Guess what? You're going to run and gun right yourself into starvation. So, and Russ, what do you think about that? Just that first clip there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I am that guy. You know,
Mhm.
like, you know, I've been walking around with a bum knee since I just about got up here, and I don't know why it's the way it is. So I'm having a hard time doing things that I would like to do that we had planned to do up here. Um, I
Mhm.
know I'm old. I just turned 59. Now, you know, I'm facing the big 6-0 next year. But I have other skills other than running gun. And you've heard me say it before. I got one good door kick left in me, and that's about it.
Tony, you talked about this in the green room earlier, how, you know, you're getting a little bit older and that van life's starting to wear on you a little bit. So what are you doing to maybe change your gear or something like that, knowing that you're not a spry 20-year-old anymore?
Yeah, you know, since I kind of do this for a living, I've started to adapt my gear to be more mobile, be more light, you know. But part of preparedness is preparing your body too. It's like, to your point, it's all right if you're not leading the pack or middle of the pack, but be a part of the pack. Don't pull the pack
Love it.
down,
Love
right?
it.
So, you know, you can always be in shape. That shape may be a little bit different, but if you're doing nothing, then you're not going to be able to give anything. So I think it's something we have to be honest with. It's all right not to be able to run around with the gear and all that, or maybe just change your gear, adapt your approach to it so you can remain mobile and flexible. Because we're all doing this for our own reasons, either for self-preservation or for your family. And if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and say, I didn't do anything to better myself physically today, then I think you're kind of ignorant to what you are preparing yourself for. Because the other side is the enemy is always getting ready. Whatever that enemy is, whatever that boogeyman is. So if you're not doing something every day, mentally and physically, to prepare yourself, you're going into this whole lifestyle, so to speak, ignorantly.
And we hear it all the time, Tony, right? Especially like Secret Service will tell you that the bad guy only has to get it right once,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So questions for the audience, something to think about. When's the last time you actually tested your physical ability to execute your emergency plan? Whatever plan you have now. Look, if you can't execute the plan you have now, revise your plan. It's okay. But once you revise your plan, then test your plan. If it doesn't work, then revise your plan again. And while you're at it, let your group know that this is what you're doing and these are your limitations. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. And the other question, guys, for the peanut gallery is: are you preparing for the person you are today or the person you were 20 years ago? Right. That's important, because I can't prep like I was 20 years old. Right. I didn't need much when I was. Now look, I need blood pressure medicine. I need dip. I need look. There's a lot of things I need. Bourbon. These are things I need to prep for. This is the shit I planned for. So look, I need to put a whole nother building on Jason's property for my bourbon, because I know sooner or later, if I run out, bad shit. Me and Lala are going to be awfully grumpy. So,
If Lala runs out of Mick Golden, oh Lord.
I just wrote a great scene just about that for this new book.
Did you really?
So guys, those are the two questions for you in chat. Think about those two things. When's the last time you actually tested your plan, worked your plan, and then are you actually preparing for yourself now, or how you were when you were 20 years old? Think about that. We'll talk about it later, and I'd like to listen to you. Like to hear you guys chime in. So more to your point, Tony. Look, we're getting older. Might need to change our gear up a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that goes with your weapons and anything else. What you have in the back of your side by side or whatever, everything, you know, lighten the load, spread the load, set the example, right?
And here's what this clip is all about.
Cool.
One of the clearest places where overconfidence shows up is the bug out bag, because a lot of people are carrying far more than they realistically need. Prepper culture has turned some bug-out bags into mobile storage closets.
You know what I thought of when I first watched this? I thought about Morgan in Chris's books.
Oh yeah.
Knives, several fire-starting systems, huge medical kits, cookware, ammunition, tools, food, batteries, radios, power banks, shelter gear, spare clothing, hatchets, saws, tarps, cordage, filters, and enough gadgets to fill the back of a pickup. Then that same pack gets hung in a closet and almost never gets walked 5 miles. That isn't field-tested preparedness, that's equipment collecting. Once you're over 40, every pound in that bag needs to earn its place.
Yeah, so just like what you were saying, right? Look, pounds equal pain, right? Or ounces, however that fucking saying
Ounces
goes. Or
equals
something.
pounds
Yeah,
equals
every
pain.
ounce is a pound.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Revise your gear. We had a hell of a lesson when we did our hike to Hidden Pond of what you actually don't need inside of your pack. I think Mel was probably the biggest example of that. Not to call her out, but and a few other people. But look, there's a lot of stuff that are nice. It's very nice to have, but when you're walking 6 miles through the sugar sand because that's your plan, you might could do without it, right? So something to think about.
So
Some notes.
just
Go
because
ahead,
she's
Russ.
not here, I'm going to just go ahead and say, F you, Pete. Just, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, my pack weighs 23 pounds right now, guys. That's my pack. Now, is that my full loadout 3-day kit? Should shit hit the fan? No, but that's my get to where I need to be, which is another thing. I understand I can't walk with everything I need at my bug out location. I understand that. My body's just not built for that anymore. So guess what I did? I revised my plan. I put the stuff at the bug out location. I don't need to travel with my rifles now because guess what? At the bug out location, I don't need to travel with 1,000 rounds of 5.56 and 1,000 rounds of 9mm. Why? At the bug out location. So I had to revise my plan. So it's not, this is not just Pete spouting shit. This is stuff that I actually lived and did. So questions for this particular clip that we need to ask ourselves is, what's your bag actually weigh? When's the last time you weighed it? Have you ever walked 5 miles with your bag fully loaded? And when you're, what are you carrying? And do you really need it? Do you really need all that stuff? Or is it just the Gucci cool stuff to have? So some points to consider there. Patrick's got his squared away. He's at 20 pounds, he says. Dee Dee did the entire Florida trails with 12 pounds.
Yep.
Entire
sure
Florida
did.
trail, 1,400 miles with 12 pounds on her back.
Yeah.
So, no, she didn't have the creature comforts. And anyway, something to think about. Next one's going to be something that all of us, especially as we get older, are our medical dependencies. And when you talk about medical dependencies, like I made just a little bit of just about my dip and bourbon. Guess what, guys? In a stressful situation, go without that stuff. See what kind of person you are to be around.
Yeah.
I know I am not going to be a good person 2 weeks after I run out of dip. I get it. I know it. You better put me out at the watchtower over there and leave me alone because I'm not going to be pleasant to be around. It's going to happen. So guess what? Instead of going out to the whatever kind of bar,
you're barely pleasant to be around now.
imagine 2 weeks without dip. Oh boy. I'd be terrible.
Having said that, guys, I bought Pete a T-shirt while we were on our travels, and on the back of it, it says "Drinks well with others."
I do.
You do, and I would not want to be around you if you lost your number one. If you lost your dip, because I know how I am if I don't have nicotine, and bourbon.
It would be
probably not as bad, but
the first 2 weeks would be rough. Look, Rusty, you know, just because I'm cheap, you know what I brought up here.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
That's just because I'm cheap. That doesn't have anything to do with fearing that the world's going to come to an end and I can't freaking go to the store and get more. So anyway,
that's just to make you hope you make it through the season, which you think you will.
Yeah, hopefully I will. So guys, those are the talking points for that particular thing, and hopefully we can answer those honestly. And we're not, you don't need to do it in chat, but when you're messing around tonight, laying in bed, listening to other podcasts and stuff like that, just think about it. I don't know, medical dependencies.
And if you're concerned about your pack having too much stuff in it or stuff like that, have someone go through it. I had Angry American went through mine, and I cut 25 pounds almost out of mine. Mm-hmm. And I'm down to about 27 pounds now. And if I drop the main pack, I'm down to like 10.
Yep.
or less if I use that fanny pack type thing.
And
Which will
watch
get me there.
watch the full video. Botrix is putting it up every 5 minutes, like I said, after the podcast. Watch it because it gives you options. Like, okay, how can I revise my plan to make this happen? Medical dependencies next.
Another major change after 40 is that medical dependencies start becoming part of preparedness, whether you like it or not. Maybe you take blood pressure medication. Maybe it's thyroid medication, diabetes medication, asthma treatment, cholesterol medication.
This is a good point. I'm sorry, guys. This is a good point. What Rev says here. Yeah, I'm no quitter, Rev. I'm no quitter.
Pain management, allergy medication, or something else you've been using for years. Maybe you don't take anything, but you need prescription glasses to drive. Maybe you wear contacts and can't see well enough to function without them. Maybe someone in your household depends on a powered medical device or a medication that needs proper temperature control. None of that is a side issue.
Right? CPAP, guys. A lot of people CPAP. Look, I don't want to be around someone who is snoring when I'm trying to go to sleep. I can't do it. Even when I go hiking, I am so far away from snorers that I'll lose my damn mind. So you want to talk about someone that's not pleasant? Snore in a tent next to me for a couple of nights, and we'll see what happens. I'm not near as bad as Jim, my buddy Jim, but I'm bad. We got rough.
Well, this topic here is near and dear to me, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that I am on anti-rejection drugs, I'm trying to get off all the other ones. My blood pressure medicine has been cut in half. I've gotten rid of my cholesterol medicine, all that stuff. But my anti-rejection drugs, I have about a year and a half, if I stretch it, and then it's up to the good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And, almost 12, 13 years post-transplant, hopefully I can go longer without that. But I stockpile as much as I can. That's all you can do.
Well, and God forbid.
Luckily, none of them have any refrigeration requirements.
Yeah, so another thing to think about, right? Refrigeration requirements, the shelf life on your drugs, how are you storing it? The good news, Russ, is if you do, God forbid, pass away in a shit hit the fan situation, we could always eat you. You'd be a food source. I suspect you're going to taste like nicotine and bourbon. And
I
like both of those things.
Definitely marinated in bourbon.
I'm a fan of both of those things. Medical dependencies, Tony. You got anything to add to that? Anything?
No, I mean it's sometimes when we're watching, different podcasts or YouTube or whatever, you've got younger guys that are doing a great job of planning, but they haven't got to the point in their life where their body's basically telling them to F off and I need some help. So meds are big. It's just as big as food, water, or fire. You're not going to be able to function without it. And I do a pretty decent job of taking care of myself. But if I don't have migraine meds, which has happened in the past because I was out of my script or whatever, I'm hard pressed to get anything accomplished. So, you got to stock up on them, make sure you have them when you're on a trip, and at a minimum, know where you can go to resource them if you do run out.
Yeah, so that's a perfect lead into the questions for that particular clip. Is if the pharmacy were to close tomorrow, how long could you go? Yeah, something to think about. I could live without my blood pressure medication, especially since I dropped 30 pounds. I'm pretty sure that I could probably get off of that right now, since every time I stand up too fast, I almost pass out. So we're going to revisit that. Now, the only thing I really have to worry about, like I said, is at the end of the day, I'm going to be awfully grumpy without dip. And let's not kid ourselves. That's a medication.
Yeah.
The bourbon thing I could do without for the most part. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to test that theory, but the dip, that's something that clearly has me clearly dependent on. So, but like every other dependency, go without it for 30 days and you broke the cycle, right? I would think. Kelly says he keeps 6 months minimum. So, and then Russ, to your point, Russ, does any of your household medication require refrigeration?
None that I can't do without.
Yeah, but out there in chat, if it does, if you're insulin dependent, do you have the insulin? Does it require refrigeration? And have you prepared for that? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Backup glasses. guys. I
Yes.
am blind as a bat without these things. I have to have them. I got them everywhere.
Yeah, I have 4 pair.
So yeah, there you go. Okay, back to changing up our gear and stuff like that. This next clip, guys, is about mobility and stuff like that.
Physical efficiency becomes much more important after 40 because your body should not be used to compensate for poor organization. Your back isn't a forklift, your shoulders aren't cargo hooks, your knees aren't suspension components. Yet a lot of preparedness plans are built as though the person using them will always be healthy, rested, and ready to muscle heavy equipment around. Water makes the problem obvious. A 5-gallon container weighs more than 40 pounds. Moving one once may not be a big deal, but moving several repeatedly can turn into unnecessary strain very quickly. Store heavy supplies as close as practical to where they will actually be used.
So then it goes back to planning, right? Why are you going to put your 5-gallon water jugs 8 foot above your head when you're going to have to reach and grab them? Put those things down at ground level so you're not going to stress yourself getting them. So we're changing our plan based on our age, right, Russ?
Absolutely.
I mean, we just have to.
You do.
And we were on our last hike. We were talking about how heavy some of our packs were, and somebody had mentioned bringing a cart, and I kind of scoffed at that at the beginning. But I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't we bring a big wheeled cart and take turns pulling it through the friggin' trail? Then we'd have everything we needed. We can lighten up our packs. We wouldn't be so winded. We'd get a good night's sleep. And so I don't know, Tony, what do you think about that, bud?
No, I mean, you've got to find a way. Everybody's scenario is different. Being on the East Coast or like where you guys are at up near the Great Lakes, water is very plentiful. So learn to use your water filtrations. Your Sawyers or your Life Straw, whatever you have. Supplement with those things. Carry a little less. It's a little different out west. That water probably needs to be a priority. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with using something with wheels on it or sharing the load if you have younger people around you. That's part of the example you're supposed to be setting anyway.
Right.
Exchanging that knowledge, right, for their physical capability.
Sure. And if you're a group leader, these are things that maybe you should point out to your members, right? Whether it be the Dorns over there with their group, right, or whomever. If you're seeing something that people are relying on, that if shit hits the fan, there's no way they could live without that, or they can't perform that task in the manner they're doing it now, you might want to prompt them to revisit that. I know Jason does a good job of that. He does that with me all the time. So it's not an anomaly that.
And like we're talking about water specifically, if a person can't physically help go and get water, barter another skill. Okay, I'll help do the cooking and everything else if you provide the water. It's all about bartering. It's all about helping each other.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Patrick makes a good point. Look, you want to travel? I travel. Anytime I'm in the RV, I got a bicycle with me, and Melissa's got one with her. So I can make a lot of time on a bicycle. I can put a backpack on, and I could do 20, 30 miles and camp or do whatever I need to do if I had to do it. But make your plan quicker.
Real quick, we're talking about mobility, and we're kind of getting wrapped around our physical capability, but that also goes into your vehicle. Make sure you have a vehicle that you're physically able to maintain, making sure you're physically capable to change a tire, to do repairs and stuff like that. That's a whole nother part of it. You know what I mean? If situation dependent, but like if you can't even get through the fight, then you're not there's no reason to plan on surviving, right? For the aftermath of it. So it's just, you've got to plan for that. And if what you're loaded down with, or the vehicle or the equipment you have, is making you incapable of getting through those events, then you really need to question whether you need it or not. Because if you can get through the event, then more than likely you're going to be able to find the resources or the community to help support you down the road, versus feeling like you're going to lone wolf it and you got to drag everything in the world along with you, because of an ego thing.
Well, and that's a perfect point, and that's what we're going to talk about here in a little bit, where we're preparing for our ego and not our reality, right? and you group leaders that are listening, you guys that run your tribe, that run your mutual assistance group, look, maybe you got a mechanic, but he can't run and gun, and you've been giving him a hard time every week in training, every 2 weeks in training or at the FTX because he doesn't bring the value on the battlefield. But look, if you got guys in your group that can't change a tire, well, maybe that guy that's a mechanic actually might have some value to your group. Something to think about. I'm not saying anything, but so some questions we need to ask ourselves right now from a practical standpoint is can you move all the stored water you have right now by yourself? What about your generator? Can you move that? Can you hook that up by yourself? And if you can't, but can your wife hook it up?
Yeah.
And if she can't hook it up, well, you need to adjust your plan because look, you might be sick one day. You might have a stomach bug where you can't get out of bed. God forbid something worse might happen to you, and your wife doesn't know how to run your generator or whatever. Something to think about. Are your supplies positioned where we can actually get to them and move them, like we talked about? And look, if your task is too hard, go buy you a $50 cart, buy you a hand truck, make it happen. We travel with a hand
Like,
truck mostly because I lug books around everywhere. So
That's what I need to get.
yeah, so something to think about. Something to think about. Next topic, clip number 5, Russ, is real world fitness as opposed to training like you're a special operator.
Fitness still matters after 40, but, preparedness fitness should really be built around real-world capability instead of some fantasy. You don't need to become a professional athlete, and you sure don't need to train like you're getting ready for a special operations selection course. At the same time, being unable to walk a mile, climb stairs, carry a moderate weight, or work for a few hours is a genuine preparedness weakness, no matter how much equipment you own. The practical questions are simple. Can you walk several miles at a reasonable pace? Can you climb stairs repeatedly? Can you carry a moderate load without injuring yourself? Can you get down on the ground and stand back up?
Yeah, so basic things, right? These are things we should be able to do. I'm not going to say regardless of our athleticism, but can you carry a 5-gallon bucket of water? Because you're going to have to get water for your crew. Can you actually be mobile, or are you ambulatory at all, or are you these are things we need to figure out. And guys that are running groups, if that person doesn't bring the value to the group and is unable to ambulate, you might need to make some changes there. Just a thought. But Russ, could I add anything to that?
No, and I'm guilty of not being able to. I don't know how far I could walk because I haven't touched it myself, and I need to really do that. And I know I'm delinquent in that. But
Yeah.
admitting that you are, that's the first step. And Teresa actually talked about that this morning about we need to try to get out and start doing some more walking than we usually are.
Well, and if you're unable to do it, this is the important part about this topic. If you're unable to do it, first of all, can you do it at all? Have you
Yeah.
tested yourself? And if you can't, I get it. Some people just can't do it. Have you made alternate means of transportation? A bicycle. I don't give a crap if it's one of those electric bikes, right? Just something to think about. The topics or the questions we need to ask ourselves is: can you walk 5 miles with your bug out bag? Can you walk 5 miles at all? Let's start there. Not even 5 miles. Just do 30 minutes. I tell everybody that wants to come work out with me, I go, can you walk 30 minutes? No, we can try. I go, no, walk 30. Just start walking first.
Yeah.
Don't worry about how much you're going to bench press. Start walking. Start getting active. Can you carry a 5-gallon bucket? We talked about that. So, T, you got anything to add to that particular topic? I know you're a fitness guru type of guy.
I'm not a guru, but
An Adonis.
It's all about functional fitness, right? Regardless of your age, you should be able physically to support the lifestyle that you lead. And since we're talking about prepping, preparedness, self-sustainability, and everything else, then to your point, you should be able to carry and or hump your gear, fix what needs to be fixed, and move from point A to point B in an expeditious manner, right? As we grow older, that's going to slow down. But the point is it's not about slowing down. It's about not stopping, right? And knowing your limitations so you can work within those limitations. The military, they're saying slow is smooth, smooth is fast, but it's constant motion, right? You may not be as quick every day and every moment, but the goal is to get to, to your objective, right? In a whole manner. So you don't have to be fast, but you just got to be able to keep moving. And there's a lot of people in many spaces that watch a show and think they're capable of something, but there's a lot of work that goes to all those cool guys doing those cool things. And whether that's what you're trying to obtain or not, you got to get up and do something. You got to walk. You can have all the cool Gucci gear in the world, but if you can't run from one side of your truck to the other, then what's the point?
Yeah, and you're right. And the actual tagline for this in the notes I made is don't. And we got a big in our group. We got a big muscle bound guy. He's just a freak of nature. Looks like the Incredible Hulk. So I thought of him immediately when I read this tagline. He goes, it says, "Don't tell me what you can bench. Tell me whether you can haul water, carry your pack 5 miles, and then get up the next morning and do that again."
Yeah.
Right. And look, if something stuck with me the first time I met Wes Hightower. I've always been the guy that I hiked the top of that mountain when I was doing the Appalachian Trail. I hiked the top of it, but there's different levels of that. Like I was satiated with that. I was happy with that. But then I met Wes Hightower, and it goes to what Bullshite's saying here. I met Wes Hightower. He goes, yeah, I used to climb mountains. He goes, but every time I got to the top, I'd see another one that was higher, and I go, I got to go climb that one. That's a different level. Like I don't have that. I don't have that fabric inside of me, right? But he does. So that's just different levels of fitness and different levels. Mine might be climbing that mountain. Yours might be walking 30 minutes. I've done it. Okay. Yeah. And guess what? I'm going to go do it again tomorrow because it sucked, but I know that 30 minutes is going to be a lot easier tomorrow.
Yeah. And that's where the mental part comes in and getting out and doing it. Because if you don't know what your limitations are and you don't know what it's like to push through those limitations, then you're not going to be in a mental state to push yourself when it's hard, right? Like if the first thing you do is you start out and get around the corner and you're winded, you're screwed already. It's just that you're not prepared for when it gets really hard. So that's really the whole part of working out, is not because every event is going to be a 5-mile walk. It's to get you mindset to know that you can push through and you're more prepared than you were the day before. And you can get through it, and to identify your limitations so you can work around and or through them.
We had a saying in the fire service or SWAT or whatever. We had a saying that in an emergency situation, you're never just going to rise to the occasion. You're not going to do something like a superhero. You're going to revert back to your highest level of training. Yep. If your highest level of training has never been walking with your pack for a mile, you're screwed. Like Tony said, it's a done deal. You're screwed. You're not going to be able to do that day after day. So I think that kind of goes to your point there. Maybe, I don't know. The other thing is we need to consider, especially when we're preparing as we get older and we have families and stuff like that. Clip number 6 for us is family logistics.
After 40, preparedness also changes because, well, the people depending on you often become a much bigger part of the plan. You might have children, a spouse with physical limitations, aging parents, or family members dealing with asthma, diabetes, mobility problems, anxiety, or other conditions that can affect movement and decision-making. You could even have pets that need food, water, medication, and transportation. So your personal strength and endurance are no longer the only things that matter. A household moves at the speed of the people you're responsible for. If your father can only walk a mile comfortably, an 8-mile evacuation on foot just isn't a family plan. If your spouse has a bad knee, don't fool yourself into thinking every adult will divide heavy gear evenly. If your teenager freezes under stress, train them now instead of finding that out during an emergency.
Yeah, and Patrick, I immediately thought of you, the way you're teaching your, little P7. How you're doing it, how the training and stuff you're doing with him. I thought about that and how you are right spot on with what you're doing. You're a good father, my friend. So so look, guys, and it talks about family there, but I know Jason harps on this a lot in our group. Our group is our family, right? So we need to start accounting for the deficiencies within our family, or make changes within our family, right? This is one of those things. Sometimes you can't do that with blood. I have two other people I worry about with every fiber of my body. The rest of the blood needs to either get on the Pete train or get off. It doesn't matter to me. But it's ultimately up to them. Look, they know I'm a crazy prepper guy. They need anything. They need any advice on how to get prepared because they're going to come to Pete's house when shit hits the fan. I'll give them that advice and I'll tell them where they need to get started. But unfortunately, if they show up with their hand out and I know they're going to be a burden on the group, I'm not going to take a meal out of my daughter's mouth to feed this person who was at the bar 7 days out of the week while I was stockpiling corned beef hash, for the love of God. So just Pete's opinion on that stuff. Russ, got anything to add to that?
No, I really don't, man. You know, you have to have your plan to where it suits you and those that are close to you. You know, you really do. And you can't do it by yourself. You really can't. I heard a lot of that up in Montana. And, you know, the folks up in Montana are very, very, very resilient folks. And a lot of them, you know, don't like talking about it, just like we've seen that everywhere we've gone, Pete. You know, they don't like talking about it, you know, and we can do it by ourselves. Well, you can't, you know.
A lone wolf is a dead wolf. I'll say it over and over again. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to do everything by yourself. Find yourself a family, find yourself a tribe. And look, at the end of the day, maybe none of this comes to fruition. That's cool. We can be tinfoil hat wearing people, but don't play the part because it's cool. You're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
Make the decision. Okay. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Tony, you got anything to add to that topic?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it all goes into training together as a family or as a group, right? To find out your limitations, not just your own, but to find out, you know, those you're supporting or you're working with, to know their limitations so you can work better together, right? And kind of like on your last point, like we all hope that none of this ever comes to fruition. But my discussion with anybody would be, well, tell me how this makes me worse. Being more self-sustainable, to be in better shape, to teach my kids and my family to be more aware, to be critical thinkers and just be self-dependent. You tell me how that makes for a worse lifestyle. I'm not even talking about conspiratory stuff. I'm not a conspiratory guy, but there's enough history for us to look at to say something bad's going to happen. Half the world had an earthquake last 2 weeks. Like we can just use that, you know, being from Florida with hurricanes and, you know, forest fires. Like, we don't even have to talk about the boogeyman zombie Martian stuff. You know what I mean? Whatever. But
it's everyday stuff, right? Now, look, we ran out of toilet paper for an amped up flu. You know what I'm saying? So it's everyday stuff that we need to consider. And you're
better
right.
As a group. Yeah, you're better as a group and better as a family if you experience those hard times together. But the goal is to be prepared for those hard times and know what you're capable of and what you need to do to get through those times. And it's never going to be perfect. Everything you do is never going to be perfect, but it doesn't need to be if you're working and you're leaning into everything, you know?
Absolutely. And I love the quote. How does all this make you a worse person? I love it. How does it affect your family in a negative fashion? I love that. That's just something I never really thought of. I dig that. That's why I like having Tony on. It always brings sense to my thought process.
The bar is low.
I never would have thought that when you're sitting next to me busting my chops in Elkton, friggin' Florida during the heat.
Well, you know, you had to be humbled a little bit. You know, you get write a couple thousand books or whatever it is you've done. You know, I got a Florida high school education, so I only have so much I can lean into.
Like I went to trade school. I don't want to hear it. So points for this one, or questions we should ask ourselves is, who in your family determines how quickly, and when I say family, I mean even your group, guys, how quickly you can actually move. Okay, that's the first question you need to ask yourself as a group leader. If you were injured, this is a point that this is my failure point. If I was injured, could the rest of your family execute the plan without you? Okay, this is where I fail. Look, Melissa does a great job, but when it comes to troubleshooting the generator because it's not going to turn on, it's probably not her gig, right? And that's something that I failed on as the leader of the house. So I'm not without flaws. So if anybody's out there taking this personally, get over yourselves. It's not about you. Like Melissa always tells, everything's not about you, Pete.
Well, and I tell you, I'm
Mhm.
trying to remember which Franklin Horton series it is. It was Locker 9. Locker 9 had the binder. And yeah, it was not Locker 9. It was
Borrowed World.
Borrowed World. And, have a binder, have that stuff in there. And hopefully your spouse, I use the term spouse, whether it be male or female, they can, at least you can show it to them, run it through them, and then they can go back to that checklist and run it by themselves. And it's time consuming to build something like that. And, we started one, I don't know how many years ago, and it's still in the works because we've now joined this nomad lifestyle of ours. But, Teresa can do most things that need to be done around this camper. She can drive it if she needs to. She's up to almost a mile behind the wheel now after having it since February. I don't know if I trust her backing up yet, though.
Group leaders. Your group doesn't move at the speed of your strongest member. It moves at the speed of the person who needs the most help. So take that into consideration with the questions that I asked. The last clip, guys, is titled "Plan for Yourself at 70%." So how you are right now, your plan should be developed if you are at 70% of how you are right now.
The final planning shift after 40 is to stop designing everything around the best version of yourself. Build your preparedness system so it still works when you're operating at 70%. Maybe you slept badly. Maybe your knee is acting up. Maybe you're fighting a cold. Maybe you strained something yesterday. Maybe you're just emotionally exhausted. Maybe the emergency has already lasted 5 days and everybody in the house is getting short-tempered. That's the version of you who still needs to operate the system. If your plan only works when you're strong, rested, healthy, and thinking perfectly, then it just doesn't have enough margin. Redundancy isn't only owning 2 flashlights or 2 radios.
You hear that, Tom? Two-time Tom?
It's having multiple ways to accomplish important tasks without burning yourself out.
Yeah, so your plan should be developed around you being at 70%. Does your plan still work if you're at 70%, or do you think you're going to be 100% at all times, right? What happens is the strongest person in your group or household gets injured. Are the other people able to step up? Not only are they able to step up, something that came to mind, because our bug out location is not my home location. What came to mind is, should the person that knows where everything is at, something happen to him? And does the rest of the group know how to start his generators, know how to put his solar system up, know how to get his wells working, his extra wells working, know where they're at, know where the security system's at? These are questions that the group leaders need to ask themselves. Some of them do a great job. Some of them do a terrible job because they're afraid to give out that information because they think that that's their worth. Well, those are terrible leaders. So anything to add to that, Russ?
No, I 100% I agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So T, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean,
The
I think
70%.
yeah, the 70% too, like, with your preps and your plans and everything, like if you're the only way you're going to be 100% if you're eating right, everything else, et cetera, everything's going right, I think is the point it's trying to make. And you're not going to be able to be nourished and everything else. If you've been in the military or been in any fireman, anything, right? Or you just work hard all day long, you're not 100% at the end of the day like you were at the beginning of the day.
Right.
Mentally, though, I'm all about giving 100% all the time, right? That's going to push you through when physically you're not 100%. So
Right.
again, if you're not training and you're not recognizing and training physically and preparedness wise, anyway, if you're not working towards finding out what that 100% is, then you're never going to know until it's too late that you're not, right? And it's effort is a great equalizer, but you have to make the effort initially and during training to find out what it is you're really capable of, or you don't even know what your 70% is, much less your 100%. Right?
Exactly. And some of the people, once they start a little bit of training, right, they think, oh, now look, I'm spent, I'm done. Look, you haven't scraped the surface yet of what you're capable of. push yourself a little bit, find out what your actual failure point is, and then work backwards from there.
Yeah.
So the questions for this particular topic: does your plan still work if you're operating at 70%? What happens if the strongest person in your household gets injured? And what part of your preparedness plan depends on everything going exactly right? And a mindset, like you were talking about, Tony, mindset, you could have mindset, and that no matter how tired you are, your thought process could always be there for the most part, unless you're up for 48 hours or something like that. But are you doing FTXs where you're up 2 or 3 days and seeing how you feel the next day? Look, we did an FTX for 3 days out at my place, and I can tell you that second day, after pulling guard all night and not sleeping very well and listening to Jason snore and talking to sleep next to me, I was not happy the next day. So expand that now to a long-term shit hit the fan situation. I'm not going to be pleasant to be around. Not only am I not going to be pleasant to be around, I'm not going to be able to function even at 70%. I'm going to be useless. So develop your plan. Something I thought about. Go ahead.
No, sorry about that. It's kind of like with the no quit thing. Like, I love it. Like, you got to lean into it. But everybody has that breaking point, right? The goal is not to have to push yourself to that breaking point every single moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
So at some point you will, and you better find out what it is before it's too late. And training
you got to find out. You got to find out what that limit is, right? So you know when you're getting close to that breaking point.
To pace yourself. You got to pace yourself, or the burnout rate is going to be a lot more sooner than you thought. And just saying I won't quit, I'm going to lean into it, I'm never going to give up, is not a recipe for success. Having that determination is. Like, I understand, but you can't just wake up at 350 pounds and not be able to walk to your car without being without being out of breath and saying, well, I just won't quit. Well, you already quit because you didn't make it to your car. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You're not going to get the chance not to quit.
Right. And that goes perfect with the closing line for that is preparedness should compensate for your weakness. Your plan should compensate for your weakness. For example, in our group, I know should shit hit the fan and I have to run out to one of our locations and hide behind a berm, I know that I'm going to get there before Jason. I just know that's going to happen because I'm way faster. So Jason's plan should immediately be handing me magazines. He should just constantly train on handing me magazines because I'm going to be laying down fire probably a good 10 or 20 seconds before he even gets there. So Jason, you should be planning for that. I mean, look, you're 70%. I get it. I understand. But I'm just saying, develop your plan around your 70% and then
you're gonna need to have a powwow after this thing's over. They might let you run out there by yourself intentionally, Pete.
Oh,
Pete, you have heard of friendly fire, right?
Right. I've seen them shoot, he'll miss.
Well, that's true.
So guys, look, I know boring topic. Oh, nobody likes to talk about this kind of thing. We all want to do little videos of how to room clear. But this is something I've always stressed through any mutual assistance group I've ever been into. But we're on a platform now where I could actually stress it now to more people, and they can just think I'm an asshole behind the screen and not have to worry about seeing me face to face. So important aspects, guys. That video again is rolling in the chat box. Watch the 24-minute videos. A whole bunch more information in it. It's really good. Reliable Preppers, I think, put that out. So props to them for doing that. There it is right there. Botrix just put it up. So make note of it. Go look at it. But Russ, I think that pretty much sums that up. You know what time it is.
Yep, it is that time.
It's time for this week's Prep of the Week. All right, I'm going to start it out. Guys, first of all, also, I failed to mention this, but you can get on the Kick channel anytime during the week. If you gift a subscription, we're still hooking Tony's boy and his friend up to climb that damn mountain. We're still doing that. So all that money goes to Tony's youngin' to climb Mount what?
Matterhorn. Matterhorn in 2 years. Yeah.
There you go. 2 years.
Mountains leading up to it. Yeah.
So look, we got a pretty good viewing. There's really no reason why we shouldn't get that knocked out. And anything extra that young man makes, he's going to donate also. So it's not going to go it's not going to go to waste. I'm going to start off my prep of the week, Russ, because it was birthday week, and I actually got a cool present. I wanted a weather station for the farm up here, or the 40 acres up here. So one I could monitor over the internet. So, and actually what I was thinking is we had a little emergency down in Florida today, which thank you, Jason, for taking care of that, where I didn't know that I was actually out of power. We had a lightning strike on the house, blew the jacks, and luckily my neighbor informed me that the lights are out. I knew that my security system was down, but didn't think much of it. I thought Melissa just forgot to change the batteries. But something, had I had a weather station that I was monitoring, or something I could monitor remotely, I would have instantly known that I was out of power. It would have told me. So that was that weather station that I think Kelly, or the Dorn, I think Kelly recommended. So I was able to get that put up, and it's pretty badass. So that was my prep of the weekend. I ordered a knife Melissa doesn't know about yet, but yeah, that's it. That's my prep of the week.
She doesn't know.
Well, you know, mine, Tom and I went out and did a little bit of long range shooting. I finally got that new scope on my Creedmoor, and I'm working on getting it sighted in, and we'll see how far out we can reach. And did some sporting clay shooting as well. Again, preparing to take birds and whatever else is flying through the air. You can take that however you would like to take it.
Yeah, exactly. Tony, we we talked about gear and stuff like that. And I want to give you this opportunity because you have something that you're promoting that I'm very interested in, because I have a bunch of heavy ass plates inside my plate carrier right now. So I'm certainly going to revise my plan to get a little lighter, and that's something that you offer, of course, at alpha42.com. Without a space in it, by the way. I was scolded very violently for having a space in that ticker down there. But I'm sure there's a reason behind that, and I appreciate that. What's your, did you got any, were you able to do any type of prep of the week, Tony? Anything either spiritually or physically or anything like that?
Yeah, right now I'm just rotating through my fuel. I think we're going to talk about it today, but we kind of ran to the end there. But just rotating through the fuel, putting some in my little John Deere Gator there, and putting some into some of the vehicles I have, and just rotating through it so it doesn't get old and decrepit. And kind of simple this week. I've had a long work week, and last week before school, so just getting everybody prepped for that. Right. Rotating and making sure everybody has their backpack panel in their backpack, and making sure their mind's right, because it's a big transition from going to the pool and horse camp and going hiking and stuff to now you're back with society, so to speak, and going to school and all that, and just like prepping for the school year. You know what I mean? It's just a different thing, but that's where we're at.
Tony, did you have the talk with your kids about like school and maybe some of the doctrine that they're teaching in school, and how to have them decipher that and actually make a decision for themselves on that? I know I had that conversation with my daughter going from a private school into a secular high school, right? I had that conversation. I'm just curious, have you ever had that conversation with your youngins?
So I will preface this with, I spend almost all my retirement money on my kids being in private school. My kids never went to public school. I grew up in public school, but schools aren't the way they used to be. And it's intentional, but just because my kids are in private school doesn't mean that I'm not still involved. There's still libraries, there's still other kids, there's other parents, there's other groups of people that they're going to be around. And we have to have open conversations about what society is going to put in front of them. And again, being a critical thinker and being very conscious in the way that you're approaching things. And we have very open conversations about all the main topics in America and stuff like that. And I don't tell them what to think. It's more about teaching them how to think. And
I love it.
Then they can make that decision for themselves. But we're Christians. We go to a great Catholic. They go to a great Catholic school, and my family's Catholic, and it gives us some parameters, right, so to speak, some guidelines to say what's right or wrong, versus just getting to do whatever you want, not be accountable for your actions. It doesn't make for a perfect life, but it makes those conversations a lot easier when we have to be accountable to ourselves, each other as a family, and then God.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate you. Let's run through these preps of the week, Russ.
All righty. I'll pop them up. It's on you
Uh,
there,
Mr.
Peter.
Mr. Kelly says he picked up 10 doses of Narcan at a free distribution box in Telluride. Love it.
I like
Love
it.
it. Now, learn to administer that. First of all, I know they make it simpler, and then learn what the side effects and the reactions are when you administer that. Just do a little reading up on that if you want to. Here's the next one, Russ. You got it.
All righty. Patrick Seven says he's setting up Little Seven's camp / go back after a trip down to Phibbs. He made the trip down to Illinois. He's checked out Mike's new store, and evidently
Like
it was pretty decent.
Like it. It's a long one for you, Tony. I don't know if you can read that.
I laugh. Try not to fall asleep while I read it. 2 cords of wood for the den fireplace delivered yesterday. Free dryer running nonstop. 17 to 22 totes finally gone through and labeled.
Nice.
That's more food than I realized. Day after tomorrow is our meeting to set up our September camping weekend. I like this one because obviously it's not very cold out, and he may be cooking with some food, but getting ahead of it, like it's a piss poor plan to prepare in the middle of an event. So good job.
Yeah, exactly. And that leads me to another point, guys. We should be preparing our plans and stuff like that while things are good, not on the fly, right? That was a big topic of that video I watched.
I think that was Julie too, by the way. I'm sorry I haven't met Julie, but I said he, so my apologies. I didn't read who wrote that. So great job, Julie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go with that one.
Yep. Kelly says he's preparing for the person. I starred this one because we were talking about this because this is a great point. So we're preparing for the future when something bad might happen. And Kelly made this point that he's preparing for the person that he's going to be in 20 years. It's great. I love that, Kelly.
Can I jump in there real quick?
Yeah, by all means.
So it goes even beyond prepping, but just being prepared or whatever. But so I have a lot of stairs. I live on a hill and all this good stuff on my property. We have chickens and all that. And like we're getting ready to put in handrails, stairs. We get around just fine right now. But in 15, 20 years, we're going to need something to hold on so we don't fall down those stairs, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's the great thing about avoiding bad events is avoiding bad events, right? Or getting through them is just avoiding them. So I love it. Like knowing who you're going to be in 20 years and, facilitating.
And that's putting aside your ego, right? That's putting aside the ego when it comes to planning. And it's just a great point. That's why we have great friends that tune into this stuff.
And speaking of, and I'm going to throw Kelly under the bus. When I initially saw that, I thought Kelly was just picking out his casket. So,
oh shit, that's terrible.
Love you, Kelly. You know that, brother.
I built my own, so
we're giving him a Viking funeral. We're just gonna put him in the pond out here, douse him with gasoline, and shoot fiery arrows.
Dude, as much tequila as he drinks, he'll light.
That's true. Russ, you got this one.
Yeah, Mr. Reverend Finch says his prep of the week. He got 8 super groovy water purifying gizmos.
I like it.
Right.
I like it. Jason says it depends. He's got IR floodlights and assault walkers for the elderly members. Assault walkers.
Okay, so he got depends.
Right.
IR floodlights and assault walkers for the elder members.
Yeah. Well, at least he's not just kicking them out like he normally does. Skidmore's got one. Tony, you can read this one.
4 Patriots has good sale on the solar water boiler this week. Yeah.
Did you guys see that? They got those solar water, they kind of open up and they're reflective and they have like a thermos in the middle and you direct the sunlight onto the thermos. They're normally like 60 or 70 bucks. 4 Patriots has them on sale I've never used them, for 17 bucks.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It's worth a test.
Yeah. I'll take that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So Salty Heifer. This goes back to when we were talking a little bit, but I started because it made good sense. I thought my husband was a little overkill on this stuff until we went through Hurricane Florence and we were set up nicely considering they were air rescuing people around us. That experience convinced me being prepared is the way to be.
100%. And I think COVID brought Melissa into the tribe when everybody was freaking out. Because look, let's be honest, the way the news and the media was talking about COVID, it was the bubonic plague, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really knew what was going on. So it was kind of nice to have everything in the garage and not have to go to the grocery store and be contaminated by who knows what. I got Miss
You got the
Julie's
last
here.
one.
Yep. Miss Julie says Starlink set up as backup here at the house, and the mini Starlink for the camper. That's a Roy one. That's a Roy one is none backup.
Yeah, well, two is one is none.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, it makes sense. So Julie, did you put that on? Did you put your Starlink on standby for like $10 a month? I know that's what we ended up doing, and then you can just activate it whenever you need to. But even if you don't activate it, you still have enough bandwidth to go voice over IP on your phone. You can still get out text messages and make phone calls.
Very
So
true.
something to consider. That wraps it up, Russ. Well, we
It
nailed
does.
it. Well, and we ended up going 20 minutes long, and I didn't even rant for that long. Damn. Well, guys, again, I'm sorry. I apologize if that was a boring show. Next week, maybe we'll just shoot the shit and get back into political rants and stuff like that. But something needed to be said. Go ahead.
One more prep.
Go ahead.
Miss Ramona threw in the last minute. She canned stewed tomatoes and froze squash.
I love that. I love it.
I'm going through making sure there's nothing else.
Okay.
Nope. That would be it.
Roy did the standby for the camper. Perfect. Tony, you know how this works. You give everybody your little bit of knowledge you actually have.
I wrote some notes down. Well, hey, first I want to thank everybody for supporting my son and his friend on the hike. And I just want to leave everybody with just try to make yourself better every day. It's not always going to be great. Work hard to be better, and you will be better. And just stay positive. Don't let all the noise bring you down, or all your work is futile if you're just going to live through all this to be miserable anyway. That's all I got.
Guys, another great podcast. Get your training. Talk to your tribe. If you guys are anywhere over on the East Coast, especially up around North Carolina, check out Miss Julie and their a little event they're having in September. We went to the one in March and had a great time. So shout out to Julie and Roy. Get a hold of them. Go get some training. They're doing training. There'll be a good fellowship and just an overall good time. And Pete, that's all I got, brother.
Sounds good, guys. And we're putting together in Daytona Beach when I get back. We're putting a little meet and greet together. That'll be all on our social media. I'm still kind of contemplating like a little winter event in Florida. Haven't decided yet. Miss Julie says that event that she's having over there in North Carolina is the weekend of September 19th. So guys, just be safe while you're doing that. But yeah, look, I'm sorry that a little bit drawn out podcast tonight. We'll get back to the normal stuff next week. Be safe, guys. Be prepared, not paranoid. And if you can't be safe, well, be dangerous. Thanks for watching the Eden Army podcast. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And remember, be safe. If you can't be safe, be dangerous.